This is Dr. Callahan. Welcome to week 10, Monday for probability and statistics. Go ahead and pause the video and answer the following 3 questions. Now, on Friday of last week, you did turn in your warm-up log, and so you should have gotten a new one. But if you have not yet, make sure you come see me so you can turn in the old ones and then turn and grab the new one. All right, I hope you guys are having a wonderful fall season. So my little boy decided to carve pumpkins. He got the biggest pumpkin possible, and the only thing he wanted to do was put tiny little face on it. That was the silliest thing ever. But I hope you guys are enjoying fall. All right, the last time I saw you guys, we started 1.2. Which was on the 4 different levels of measurements like nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio data. So go ahead and take a look at your homework that was given to you for 1.2 for 2 to 20 evens, 26 and 28. There was 1 point apiece except for number 26, which is with 4. All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's stuff. So take a look at our breakdown. We are going to be starting 1.3 today on page 5. Here is your objective. We are going to be doing objective number 7 and 8. And lastly, we're going to read an article called Data Collection Method, which know for statistics, and I have several questions for you guys. Your homework tonight is going to be 1.3, numbers 2, 8, 12, and 14. So go ahead and read this. I'm going to go ahead and get started on page 5. Okay, so when you're designing a statistical study, the first thing you want to do is identify the variable or the interest of the population. Develop a plan for collecting the data, like how are you going to go about and retrieving the data. Go to the field and collect the data. Describe the data using descriptive techniques. Interpret the data and make decisions about the population using inferential statistics. And then identify any possible errors if you were to repeat the data again. All right, so number 1 is a observational study. It's when the researcher observe and measure the characteristics of interest or a part of the population. For example, researchers observed and recorded the mouthing behaviors of non-food objects of children up to 3 years old. Like they sat there, they watched the little kids, 1, 2, and 3, to see what they're going to do with toys and non-food objects. Most little babies and kids will probably just take it and shake it or put it in their mouth and bite on it or something. Second type of study is experiment. It is when a treatment is applied to part of a population and responses are observed. And the subject are called experimental units. That is a second type of study. For example, an experiment was performed in a diabetic who took cinnamon extract daily, while in a control group took none. After 40 days, the diabetic who has cinnamon reduced the risk of heart disease, while the control group experienced no change. So that is an experimental one, where you have a control group and an experimental group that actually is taking cinnamon to see if there's a difference. And the control group didn't take any because you want to make sure you have a base for comparison. The third type of experiment uses a mathematical or physical model to reproduce the conditions of a situation or process, and often involves the use of computers. For example, an experiment was performed in which, actually that's the wrong one, just kidding. For example, an automobile manufacturer used simulations with dummies to study the effect of crashes on humans. So that would be a pretty high level of experiment. The last one is probably the most common one, and this is the one where you go out and use surveys. So it's basically an investigation of one or more characteristics of a population. It is commonly done by interviews over the internet or phone or email. A consensus attempt to question the whole population. So generally how this works is, especially with the election coming up, when they say they have these studies that project on who is going to win, they obviously didn't take a survey of the entire population. They took a sample size representing the entire population. And a lot of times that's done through phone or maybe email with surveys. An example of that would be a survey is conduct a sample of female physicians to determine whether the primary reason of their career choice is financial stability. So basically what they're asking is that they'll probably call people up who are female doctors and try to determine if one of the reasons why they decided to become female doctors is because so that they are financially stable and they're not relying on their husbands or anybody else for their financial reasons. All right, let's take a look at some examples here. Go ahead and read them and then ask yourself, is it going to be experiment? What type of study is it? Experiment, simulation, observation, or is it a survey? So take a moment, pause the video, read the 4 different studies, and then match them. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. For A, if you're looking at the study of effect of changing flight patterns on the number of airplane accidents, that will be simulation because you will probably have to use a computer for that. A study of the effect of eating oatmeal on lowering blood pressure, it is going to be experiment because you will need to have people involved in this one with a control group. So the control will not eat any oatmeal, but the people who are not part of the control group will be giving served daily oatmeal. A study of how 4th grade people or students solve a puzzle, that will be observation. A study of U.S. resident approval rate of the U.S. president, that will be survey. All right, control for effect of other than the one being observed. Okay, next word that we're going to go over is a placebo. A placebo is going to be a treatment. Subject experiment unit may believe they are receiving a treatment, but it's not a true one. So if I was in the control group, I don't want, the people in that group to think that they are in the control group. So rather than giving them maybe, like to see if aspirin actually does reduce your rate of heart attacks, I might give them, I don't know, like a sugar pill or something, or maybe a Tic Tac to make them think they're actually taking the medicine, but really they're not. Placebo effect is when the subject reacts favorably to placebo when in fact he or she is given no medical treatment at all. So for example, Andrew suffers from chronic neck pain. His doctor gave him a sugar pill, or better known as a placebo. And Andrew reported less neck pain. So maybe it's just all psychological, or maybe Andrew really doesn't have neck pain and he just wants to get some pain medication. The placebo effect need to be controlled in an experiment. A binding or blinding is a technique where the subject does not know whether he or she is receiving a placebo or a treatment. A double-blind experiment is neither the subject nor the experimentation knows if the subject is receiving a treatment or a placebo. Randomization is the process of randomly assigning a subject to different treatment groups. It's completely randomized designed. Subjects are assigned to a different treatment group through random selection. And randomized block designs means they divide the subject with similar characteristics into blocks, and then within each block, randomly assign subjects to treatment groups. And when they divide them out, it could be several things. It could be by gender, it could be by age, it could be by their weight or income or levels of education. Match pair design is when the subject pair up according to a similarity. One subject in the pair is randomly selected to receive one treatment, while the other subject receives a different treatment. All right, let's jump into objective 8 and 7. So pause the video and answer them. Okay, now I'm gonna unpause the video, and here are the breakdowns of your answers. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of this. Next, what I want you guys to do is you are going to read and answer some questions that I have here. So you're going to go to this article called Data Collection Method, What You Need to Know, and it's right here in this pink kind of URL, so make sure you type it in. So if I click on that, this is what you should be able to see. This is where it should be, okay? And you are going to read everything here and answer the following questions. And the questions I want you guys to respond to. 1, how many different types of data are there? What are they? And please list them. Number 2, what are the 6 methods employed in primary data collection? And number 3, which data collection method would you prefer to use on a study? Why? And justify your response. All right, so your exit ticket today is going to be 2 facts and a fib. And what you're going to do is tell me about 2 facts in today's lesson in any of the areas below. Then write 1 that is a fib, and that's it. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. As always, stay safe and healthy. Take care.